Imagine for a moment that everything you have been told about finding work you love is wrong, that the relentless pursuit of passion is not the path to a fulfilling career, but a dangerous trap that leaves you confused, disillusioned, and no closer to professional satisfaction. What if the secret to a life of meaning, creativity, and deep fulfillment in your work has nothing to do with following your heart, and everything to do with building rare and valuable skills that make you indispensable to the world? This is not a book about finding your passion. It is a revolutionary manifesto that flips the entire self-help industry on its head, revealing that passion is not something you discover, but something you cultivate through the slow, deliberate pursuit of mastery. Cal Newport, a computer science professor and one of the sharpest minds on the modern workplace, dismantles the follow your passion myth with rigorous research, compelling stories, and a practical framework that will transform how you approach your career forever. Within these pages, you will learn the secrets of the Craftsman Mindset, the power of career capital, the importance of deliberate practice, and the uncomfortable truth that the work you love is not waiting for you to find it, but is instead waiting for you to earn it. You will discover how to gain control over your work life, find a mission that gives it purpose, and ultimately become so good at what you do that no one can ignore you. This is the operating manual for building a career you are proud of, not by chasing a fleeting feeling, but by becoming the kind of person who can command respect, autonomy, and opportunity in any market. But here is the question that will change everything. What if the reason you feel stuck, unhappy, or unfulfilled in your work is not because you haven't found your passion, but because you simply aren't good enough yet to deserve it? What if the very idea of a dream job is a fantasy that has been keeping you trapped in mediocrity, preventing you from putting in the hard work that actually leads to a life of meaning? And what if, by the time you finish this audiobook, you will never ask yourself, "What do I love?" again? Because you will finally understand the far more empowering question: what can I become so good at that the world will pay me to do it, and I will love every minute of it because I have earned it? Introduction. The passion of the monk. Follow your passion is dangerous advice. Thomas had this realization in one of the last places you might expect. He was walking a trail through the oak forest that outlines the southern bowl of Tremper Mountain. The trail was one of many that crossed through the 230-acre property of the Zen Mountain Monastery, which has called this corner of the Catskill Mountains its home since the early 1980s. Thomas was halfway through a 2-year stay at the monastery, where he was a practicing lay monk. His arrival, 1 year earlier, had been the fulfillment of a dream job fantasy that he had nurtured for years. He had followed his passion for all things Zen into this secluded Catskills retreat, and had expected happiness in return. As he stood in the oak forest that afternoon, however, he began to cry, his fantasy crumbling around him. "I was always asking, what's the meaning of life?" Thomas recalled when Cal Newport first met him at a coffee shop in Cambridge, Massachusetts. After earning bachelor's degrees in philosophy and theology, followed by a master's degree in comparative religion, Thomas decided that Zen Buddhist practice was the absolute key to a meaningful life. He traveled across China and Tibet, lived in South Africa, taught English in South Korea, and worked a data entry job in London, all while nurturing his conviction that living as a Zen monk was his true calling. It took 9 months for Thomas to complete the intense application process for the Zen Mountain Monastery. When he arrived, his daily routine started at 4:30 a.m. with hours of silent meditation on mats, arranged with geometric precision in the main hall. He cleaned toilets, shoveled ditches, and handled graphic design for the monastery's print journal. Thomas worked for months to pass the famous Mu Koan, the first of the 8 gates of Zen Buddhism. One afternoon in the forest, he cracked it. The boundary of self disappeared, and he grasped the deep unity of nature. He passed his interview with the senior monk and officially became a serious student of Zen. Yet, shortly after this breakthrough, reality struck. Walking the same trail, he realized that reaching the zenith of his passion had changed nothing. He was the exact same person, carrying the exact same anxieties. Following his passion to a secluded mountain monastery had not magically made his life wonderful. The conventional wisdom on career success, that you must first figure out what you are passionate about and then match it to a job, is fundamentally flawed. It not only fails to describe how compelling careers are built, but it also causes immense angst and job hopping when reality inevitably falls short of the daydream. Rule 1. Don't follow your passion. The passion of Steve Jobs. In June 2005, Steve Jobs stood before 23,000 people at Stanford Stadium and gave his iconic commencement address. He famously told the graduates, "You've got to find what you love. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle." Millions of people watched this speech online, viewing it as a definitive endorsement of the passion hypothesis. The belief that occupational happiness comes from matching your job to a pre-existing passion. However, if you look at what Steve Jobs actually did rather than what he said, a completely different story emerges. In the years leading up to founding Apple Computer, young Steve Jobs was not passionate about technology or business. At Reed College, he studied Western history and dance, dropped out after one semester, slept on dorm floors, and scrounged free meals at the local Hare Krishna temple. He took a night shift job at Atari simply because he needed quick cash, left for several months to trek across India on a spiritual quest, and trained at a local Zen center. When his friend Steve Wozniak, a true electronics prodigy who was genuinely obsessed with circuit boards, built a basic computer prototype, Jobs did not launch Apple out of a grand vision to change the world. He saw a low-risk opportunity to make a quick $1,000 by assembling circuit boards for $25 and selling them to local wireheads for $50. It was only when Paul Terrell of the Byte Shop offered to pay $500 per fully assembled unit for 50 computers that Apple turned into a serious business. Apple was not born out of passion. It was the result of a small-time scheme that hit an unexpected windfall. Jobs grew passionate about Apple after he built something valuable, not before. Passion is rare. Social science confirms that Jobs' messy path is the rule rather than the exception. When researchers look closely at how people develop compelling careers, 3 major conclusions dismantle the passion hypothesis. Career passions are rare. A 2002 study led by Canadian psychologist Robert J. Vallerand surveyed 539 university students. While 84% possessed an identifiable passion, less than 4% of those passions had any relation to work or education. The vast majority were hobbies like hockey, skiing, reading, and music. Most people simply do not have a pre-existing professional passion waiting to be uncovered. Passion takes time. Yale organizational scholar Amy Wrzesniewski surveyed workers across various fields to see whether they viewed their work as a job, a career, or a calling. Studying college administrative assistants doing identical work, she found they were evenly split among all 3 categories. The single strongest predictor of whether an employee saw their work as a calling was the number of years spent on the job. Passion is cultivated as you gain experience, efficacy, and strong working relationships. Passion is a side effect of mastery. Self-determination theory, developed by Edward Deckey and Richard Ryan, shows that workplace motivation requires fulfilling three basic psychological needs. Autonomy means feeling control over your day and actions. Competence means feeling skilled and capable at what you do. Relatedness means feeling connected to others. Notice that matching work to pre-existing passions is entirely absent from scientific models of motivation. Autonomy and competence are general traits earned through hard work and skill acquisition. Passion is dangerous. The modern obsession with passion can be traced back to the 1970 publication of Richard Bowles's What Color is Your Parachute?, which popularized the idea of taking personality assessments to find your ideal job. Over the past several decades, as cultural reliance on following your passion exploded, job satisfaction in America drastically declined. The Conference Board revealed that job satisfaction dropped from 61% in 1987 to 45% in 2010, with young workers reporting the highest rates of workplace unhappiness ever recorded. The passion mindset creates a hyper-awareness of what you don't like about your current job. It leads to constant questioning: is this who I really am? Is this my true calling? Which generates chronic job hopping, entitlement, and crippling anxiety. Actionable key takeaways for Rule 1. Stop searching for your true calling. Accept that you likely do not have a pre-existing career passion waiting to be discovered. Shift your focus from finding the right work to working right. Understand that loving what you do is an outcome of building mastery, autonomy, and strong relationships over time. Beware the passion trap. When feeling unfulfilled at work, refrain from instantly quitting. Recognize that early-stage jobs rarely feel like callings because you have not yet built competence. Rule 2. Be so good they can't ignore you. The importance of skill, the clarity of the craftsman. To build a career you love, you must abandon the passion mindset and adopt the craftsman mindset. The passion mindset focuses on what the world can offer you. It leads to endless introspection, self-doubt, and hyperfixation on workplace flaws. The craftsman mindset focuses on what you can offer the world. It centers entirely on the quality of your output and relentless self-improvement. This concept stems from legendary comedian Steve Martin. When asked what advice he gives to aspiring performers, Martin famously noted that people usually want secret tricks about getting agents or writing scripts. Instead, his advice is simple: be so good they can't ignore you. Martin spent 10 grueling years experimenting with non-traditional setup without punchline comedy, relentlessly refining his routine until his talent was undeniable. Studio musicians in Nashville live by a similar mantra: the tape doesn't lie. Your feelings, connections, and excuses are irrelevant. Only the tangible quality of your work matters. The power of career capital. Why is the craftsman mindset the ultimate foundation for loving your work? It comes down to basic economic supply and demand. First, consider the traits that define a great job. Creativity means the freedom to push boundaries and innovate. Impact means the ability to change lives or shape an industry. Control means autonomy over when, where, and how you work. These traits are both rare and valuable. Economic law dictates that if you want something that is rare and valuable, you must offer rare and valuable skills in return. These rare and valuable skills are your career capital. The craftsman mindset is designed specifically to acquire career capital. Consider how this played out in the lives of successful individuals. Ira Glass, the creator of This American Life, did not step into a public radio station with a hit show. He started as an intern, spent years as a low-level tape cutter, and spent decades forcing his storytelling and editing skills to improve until he possessed rare career capital. Al Merrick, the founder of Channel Island Surfboards, built an empire located a block from the beach, allowing him to surf whenever he pleases. He earned this level of absolute control by spending years mastering board shaping until world champion surfers like Kelly Slater won competitions exclusively on his designs. From courage to food stamps, a tale of two marketers contrast two people who wanted to change their corporate careers. Lisa Feuer worked in advertising. Inspired by the courage culture, which preaches that fear is the only thing stopping you from your dream job, she quit her corporate career, took out a home equity loan to pay for a 200-hour yoga teacher training, and launched Karma Kids Yoga. She adopted the passion mindset, believing that her love for yoga was enough, but she had zero career capital in the yoga industry. A 200-hour certificate put her at the bottom of a flooded market. Within a few years, her business collapsed, leaving her standing in line at the government assistance office. Joe Duffy was an advertising executive who also grew tired of corporate agency life. Instead of quitting abruptly, Duffy adopted the Craftsman Mindset. He focused on building rare career capital in commercial logo and brand strategy. He became so exceptionally good that his agency allowed him to create his own autonomous subsidiary, Duffy Designs. Years later, armed with a massive reserve of career capital, he launched his own firm, Duffy & Partners, with a waiting list of major clients like Sony and Coca-Cola. By age 45, he owned a 100-acre cross-country skiing retreat in Wisconsin and possessed total control over his life. Courage without capital is a disaster. 3 disqualifiers for the Craftsman Mindset. While the Craftsman Mindset applies to most careers, Cal Newport outlines 3 specific conditions under which a job cannot build meaningful career capital, indicating you should leave. The job offers few opportunities to distinguish yourself by building rare and valuable skills. The job forces you to work on something you believe is useless or harmful to the world. The job forces you to work alongside people you genuinely dislike or disrespect. The career capitalists in action, Alex Berger, a TV writer, recognized that in the brutal, winner-take-all market of Hollywood writing, script quality was the only capital that mattered. As an assistant, he wrote late into the night, managing 3 to 4 scripts simultaneously. He constantly pitched, took brutal feedback, and refined his craft until he broke through to write for network shows like Commander-in-Chief K. Ville, and eventually co-created Glenn Martin, DDS with Michael Eisner. Mike Jackson, a venture capitalist, did not set out with a lifelong vision to enter clean technology investment. At Stanford, he threw himself completely into mastering the obscure mechanics of international carbon markets and renewable energy credits. When a friend connected him to a clean tech venture firm, his immense reserve of niche expertise made him an instant asset, propelling him rapidly from intern to director at the Westley Group. The mechanics of deliberate practice. How do you build career capital efficiently? Through deliberate practice. Florida State University psychologist K. Anders Ericsson spent decades studying elite performers, from chess grandmasters to concert violinists. His research proved that natural talent is largely a myth. Expertise is built through thousands of hours of deliberate practice, defined as activities designed specifically to stretch your current abilities beyond your comfort zone while receiving immediate performance feedback. Neil Charnas's research on chess players revealed that chess grandmasters spent 5 times more hours in serious study, analyzing hard positions and correcting mistakes, than intermediate players, who spent most of their time simply playing tournament games. Most people hit a performance plateau in their jobs because they perform routine work repeatedly without actively stretching their capacity. To integrate deliberate practice into knowledge work, adopt these 5 steps. First, identify your capital market type. In a winner-take-all market, there is only one central skill that matters, such as script quality for a TV writer. In an auction market, there are many different skills you can combine to create a unique value proposition. Second, define your clear capital goals by identifying the explicit, rare skills you need to build. Third, define what stretching means by pushing past your threshold of mental discomfort. If you are not mentally strained, you are not engaging in deliberate practice. Fourth, solicit immediate, ruthless feedback to uncover blind spots. Fifth, develop relentless strain and diligence by building daily rituals to execute practice consistently. Actionable key takeaways for Rule 2. Adopt the Craftsman Mindset by asking every morning, what value am I bringing to my role today, rather than what is this job giving me? Audit your career capital by writing down your primary skills and asking objectively, are these skills genuinely rare and valuable in my current market? Schedule deliberate practice by reserving dedicated hours every week to work on tasks that stretch your abilities right to the edge of discomfort, and aggressively seek feedback on the results. Rule 3. Turn down a promotion. The importance of control. The control trap. Once you acquire a critical mass of career capital, your primary goal should be to invest that capital to gain control, autonomy over your time, location, and daily tasks. Control is one of the most powerful ingredients for workplace happiness. However, pursuing control exposes you to the control trap, which consists of two distinct financial and logistical hazards. The first control trap, gaining control without enough capital, attempting to demand control before you possess rare and valuable skills, is unsustainable. Consider Jane, a talented college graduate who started a lifestyle blog detailing her goal of living simply and autonomously. She moved to a rural farm, working minimal hours to preserve her freedom. However, because she lacked rare skills to monetize, her venture struggled financially. Without sufficient capital, pursuing extreme autonomy leads to poverty and instability. The second control trap, resistance from employers. Once you have capital, once you accumulate enough career capital to be genuinely valuable, your employer will actively resist your attempts to gain autonomy. They will offer higher salaries, promotions, and titles to keep you embedded in the traditional corporate grinder. Consider Lulu, a brilliant computer programmer. As her coding skills became indispensable, she decided she wanted to work only 30 hours a week to preserve time for her personal interests. Her employer fought her decision vigorously, offering her promotions and substantial raises to keep her full-time. Because she was so valuable, the company did not want her to take control of her schedule. Lulu stood her ground, threatened to walk away, and successfully negotiated her part-time schedule. The Law of Financial Viability. How do you navigate these traps and decide when to push for more control? You use the Law of Financial Viability. Do not push for lifestyle autonomy until you have evidence that people are willing to pay you for the underlying skills. If people are willing to give you cold, hard cash for your capital, you have real market value. If they are not, your idea for autonomy is a pipe dream, regardless of how passionate you feel about it. Actionable key takeaways for Rule 3. Leverage capital for autonomy by negotiating for flexibility, remote work, or reduced hours instead of simply accepting higher pay or higher titles once you have rare skills. Apply the financial viability test before launching a new venture, or requesting a major reduction in traditional working hours to verify that someone is actively willing to pay for your specific skills. Resist the golden handcuffs by expecting pushback from management when you request autonomy, and be prepared to rely on your career capital as leverage. Rule 4. Think small, act big. The importance of mission. The power of a career mission. A compelling career often requires a unified mission, organizing your working life around a central, transformative goal. A great mission provides deep energy, focus, and meaning. Consider Pardis Sabeti, a computational biologist at Harvard. Sabeti developed statistical methods to scan the human genome for natural selection markers, applying her work to combat deadly infectious diseases like malaria and Lassa fever. Her career is infused with profound passion because every hour of her work serves a life-saving purpose. However, mission is not something you choose arbitrarily on day one. The adjacent possible scientific and professional breakthroughs rarely occur from random strokes of genius. They occur within the adjacent possible, the boundary defining the next available set of innovations based on current knowledge. Pardis Sabeti did not decide to revolutionize evolutionary genetics when she was an undergraduate. She spent years acquiring advanced career capital in mathematics, genetics, and computer science. Only when she reached the cutting edge of her field did the adjacent possible become visible to her. A meaningful mission is an epiphenomenon of reaching the cutting edge of a field. You must think small by systematically mastering a narrow niche before you can act big with a sweeping mission. The law of remarkability, launching little bets. Once you reach the cutting edge and discover a mission, how do you execute it successfully? Through little bets, a concept popularized by Peter Sims. Instead of betting your entire career on a massive, unproven idea, execute small, low-risk experiments that yield immediate feedback. These micro-projects allow you to test hypotheses, gather data, and refine your direction without catastrophic failure. Furthermore, to ensure your mission succeeds, apply the law of remarkability. It must compel people to remark, forcing your project to be shared with their network. It must be launched in a venue where remarkability is appreciated, putting your work in front of an audience that understands its value. Actionable key takeaways for Rule 4. Reach the cutting edge first by not attempting to choose a grand career mission until you have pushed to the current boundaries of your domain. Execute via little bets by testing mission concepts through small, fast projects that produce concrete market feedback. Design for remarkability by ensuring your projects are so exceptional and unique that participants and observers are compelled to tell others. Conclusion. Working right trumps finding the right work. Let us return to Thomas, the lay monk who wept on the mountain trail in the Catskills. After realizing that following his passion into a Zen monastery had failed to bring him fulfillment, Thomas left the monastery and re-entered society. He stopped asking, "What do I love?" and instead adopted the Craftsman Mindset. He took a job at a university software firm, dedicated himself to building hard skills, mastered technical database management, and systematically accumulated career capital. As his competence grew, he earned high pay, immense autonomy, and deep respect from his colleagues. Today, Thomas loves his life and his work, not because he found his dream job, but because he built it. Happiness in your career is not sitting out there waiting to be discovered. It is not tied to a magical fit hidden inside a personality test. Discard the naive myth of the passion hypothesis. Put your head down, focus on deliberate practice, build rare and valuable career capital, and demand autonomy and purpose once you have earned it. Stop chasing passion. Let it follow you. Become so good they can't ignore you.